Hello everyone. This is my very first video that is more in the form of an informative blog. I obviously did make some on my website to explain my new process for bookings, what to expect, and so on and so forth. But I enjoyed making those so much, and I have had such wonderful feedback from them that I've been inspired to potentially do some more. These will be ad hoc when I feel like it. Sometimes they might be accompanied by a written blog, other times they will not. So yeah, let's just be curious and see what happens. So the topic for this video, and there is an accompanying blog post which has more depth and detail, is negotiate like a pro. So this video and accompanying blog are going to detail the pre-scene negotiation process that I would have apprentices when I was training people at Fetish House write down, so that they could take that in to clients and really get a very comprehensive negotiation with people right from the very get-go. That isn't to say, though, that this has to be used by people in a professional context. In fact, really, the more knowledge of how to have a very in-depth negotiation that we have, whether professional or whether lifestyle, whether dom, sub, what have you, doesn't matter. The more information that we have and the more questions that we know to ask, then the happier, healthier, and safer everyone is. So I definitely recommend this for anyone and everyone. That said, whilst this list is definitely quite comprehensive, it is by no means the totality of all ways that one could approach a negotiation, and there are most certainly elements or threads of questioning that I have not included in this. If that is the case, that is not a matter of them being devalued by myself, not in any way. If anything, it's probably because I simply have not come across them, and so I'm not aware of them. So do not take this as the sum of all possible knowledge. However, there is a lot of kind of general, well-rounded, in-depth semi-completeness in this structure for negotiation. I have also structured it in such a way that, for myself at least, instead of kind of meandering all around the place as is able to do very easily with a negotiation, this one has quite a defined structure of funneling down information. So hopefully this will also make sense to you and make it easier for everyone to remember. We'll see. Okay, so as I said, this isn't just for any one person in particular, not professional, lifestyle, so on and so forth. And that also being said, even though I do feel this will have certainly a broad usefulness, that this is not going to suit every person. This is not going to suit every play relationship, and this is not going to suit every play scene. So I do wholeheartedly support if there are parts of this that you want to, with your best discernment, remove from your negotiations sometimes, or if there's some parts that you would like to tweak in order to make it more relevant to your practice, then I fully support you in doing so. Absolutely. Make it fit you and the people that you play with. Perfect. Now, one additional thing that I will say just on the outset as well. So talking about tweaking negotiations for different play partners or play relationships, there are certainly elements of this negotiation structure which belie the fact that it is aimed at people who are meeting for the very first time. And certainly there are parts of it that you absolutely will not need to utilize when negotiating with someone that you have played with before or are quite familiar with. However, what I will say is it is also very important to be mindful that we do not fall into the trap of familiarity, simply because there is someone that we've played with numerous times over the years. I have a lot of that with the people who I see. If there has been a period of time in between play, even though you may feel very familiar with them, and for the most part, as people, you are familiar, I absolutely recommend that you do, in fact, go back to the beginning and use a complete negotiation like this from start to finish, just to make sure that there aren't any changes in that person's interests, abilities, health, boundaries, that sort of thing, that they might not even think to bring up with you unless it is asked. So yeah, just also consider that every now and then, even with people that we know, a full and complete negotiation is probably really a good way to go. It's best practice. Okay. So, one moment, I need to have a glass of water. And we're back. So, the way that this negotiation structure that I used to use a lot was for the majority of the first 8 or 9 years of my career. This is how I would handle pretty much every negotiation unless I was incredibly familiar with someone. So the way that is a most logical format for remembering this in shorthand in my mind is who, what, why, how, not, and need. So we have 6 big areas there, or sort of main methods, areas of inquiry, I suppose, that can be summarized in those fun little words. So I'll say them again. They are who, what, why, how, not, and need. Now, what do these mean? Okay, so in very broad terms, the first one, which is who. These questions will be surrounding getting to actually know the person who you're going to play with, get to know a little bit about their play journey, about their kink experiences, about their other sexual or sensual experiences, or anything that they and you also feel is a useful ground floor with which to build an understanding of who they are, both as a person outside of kink and also within that realm. Of course, how relevant that is going to be for you and your practice and your play partners is entirely up to you. So we can gloss over that one just a little bit. Okay. Now, what? So what, which is the second area of inquiry, relates to what activities and what things, generally speaking, that we will be, pardon me, hiccup burp, attractive, relates to what we will be exploring within this scene. So that can be, if this is in a professional sphere, this might be, okay, what activities do you definitely want to tick off? If it is in a little bit more of a laissez-faire or personal sphere, then that might be what activities are you comfortable with me drawing from, and so on and so forth. So this is kind of really getting the first lay of the land of what we're going to be doing. Okay, so the next one is why. Now, this one, so we have an understanding of who the person is, their previous experience, and we also have an understanding of what it is that we're going to potentially be engaging in. And so this why question relates to, or can relate to, not simply where the inspiration for their desires that are alive today have come from. So, you know, maybe they, I don't know, maybe they read a naughty story, or maybe they had a naughty dream or whatnot. So that is one way that we can ask the why, which is, how did this come to your mind? Another way that we can ask why is with regards to what is the overall goal of the session, if there is one. You know, is the why, for instance, that they're wanting to explore an entirely new activity? Are they wanting to potentially conquer a fear? Are they wanting to find new ways to build trust and let go? So this question why is two-pronged, and it can be quite a powerful question to ask. So the next one, okay, is how. So now we have an understanding. We're kind of doing a little bit of a filling out of detail or a funneling here. So we've gone from, you know, generally speaking, what are we going to be doing? Then, okay, cool. And why are we going to? What is this sort of moving towards? Or where did this come from? Help me to get into your mind so I understand the realm in which these activities might exist for you. And now, again, we're funneling down into the how. So the how element of the negotiation is to do with how we're going to approach the activities. So what internal play architecture are we going to be employing when we are doing these certain types of play? So this might be discussing, or it should be discussing, if there's going to be any kind of relational power exchange, what roles that power exchange might be. So just to elaborate, that might be, say, mistress and servant, or that might be owner and pet, or, you know, just giver and receiver. Maybe there's no strict power exchange, and so on. And then from there, if it is something that that is within your practice as a dominant, and it isn't for everyone, it's then at this point in time useful to potentially discuss, okay, so what is the nature or the color of this relational power exchange? As an example, is this the cruel mistress and then the victimized servant, or is this the very cool and aloof mistress and the obedient servant? Is this the very seductive femme fatale mistress and the besotted desperate servant, and so on and so forth? As a submissive, if that's you, or a switch, this is always actually a good thing, I would say, to bring up and to discuss with your top, for the simple reason being that even if they are not the kind of top who changes the color of their relational power exchange based on who they're seeing. For instance, some tops are like, nope, I am just cruel all the way, not changing for you. If you want something different, then go and see someone else. Totally fair, absolutely. And you want to know that before you get into a session with them. And so that's why, even if this question isn't necessarily relevant for all of the tops out there, I think it's probably going to be relevant for all of the bottoms. So there we go. Okay, so now that we have gone through the first three, which are, who, what, why, and how. We're almost there, my gosh. We are now getting into not. So not is all of the activities that we are not going to be engaging in, otherwise known as limits, boundaries, so on and so forth. Now, This is one area that I would very strongly encourage people to actually probably pay some of the most attention to in this little blog, because typically when people think of what are your boundaries or what are your limits, and it's asked usually just like that, exactly like that, what are your boundaries, what are your limits? For the most part, people are asking about or answering with simply the activities that they don't want to do. Now, obviously that's very important, although I would posit that if an activity has not been explicitly negotiated and agreed to, then we probably shouldn't be doing it in session anyway. Call me crazy, but yes, if there are some things that are just absolutely do not get that activity anywhere near me, yes, that's very important information to know, but that is not the summation of that important information to know. There are many different types of limits and boundaries. For instance, there may be someone may have lifestyle boundaries. So they may have an agreement with their partner that perhaps they do not remove their underwear, or perhaps they have an agreement with, whomever or whatever, to not have anything inserted into them. Perhaps they have different psychological boundaries. So this might be not using certain terminology, or it might be not using certain tones of voice. Some people become incredibly uncomfortable if you sound angry. This is also very important to know. And there are a few more of these, which, as I said, I go into in the blog post in more depth of detail. But really going through these sorts of different areas of limits and boundaries completely, not just the activities, really is the best practice, and it saves everyone a lot of heartache and a lot of pain, instead of accidentally stumbling upon them and then people not realizing what it is that they haven't asked or what it is that they haven't told. Okay, good. Now, the final one is need. So need is, once we have now figured out the overall kind of session architecture, what it is that we are and are not going to be engaging in, before we actually agree to doing that session, both of us, before we properly consent to it, we need a whole bunch of information that we're going to need every single time that we play with someone, which is to do with their health, to do with their medication intake. It's to do with their potential aftercare needs as well. It's also to do with safe word agreements and so on and so forth. Now, safe word agreements is actually the one point of this, again, pretty exhaustive list of information that we need to know, that I will point out here. Now, take this with a grain of salt if you wish, but I will ask that you consider it. That safe words in sessions and scenes, role plays, where the use of the words no, don't, stop, and so on and so forth is going to be a part of the play are absolutely necessary. Of course, 100% we should be having those safe words, or a safe word rather, to delineate against the other words that are kind of part of the excitement. However, most sessions are not like this. Most sessions do not have no, stop, don't, and so on as simply floral language with which to be ignored. If you are engaging in a session that is not going to, there is no reason for no, don't, and stop to simply be part of the role play. But if anything, if they come up, are probably going to be legitimate. Then it is my strong belief that unless a safe word is necessitated by the role play, that we should not create any unnecessary barriers for a person to communicate to us their desire to stop or to not have something. For if you are an incredibly experienced, or the person you're playing with is incredibly experienced, and so saying things like red or mercy in play is second nature to them, then absolutely go with that. Whatever the person's most easily obtained and naturally obtained safe word is 100% what we should be going for, absolutely. But for most people, the most easily obtainable, the most naturally obtainable ones are no, or oh, please stop, or oh, don't. And if that's going to be a genuine response and the first thing that their mind comes up with, then we absolutely do not want to have an extra barrier to conveying their bodily autonomy by giving them some unnecessary and esoteric safe word. But do how you will. Okay, so that's the talky through outline. It's probably gone for a lot longer than it would take you to read it, and a lot less information has possibly been conveyed. But I hope you enjoyed listening. I certainly enjoyed talking. And yes, if this has been useful for you, or you think it will be useful for someone else, please do share the video to them. It's what it's here for, or don't. Up to you. Okay.